Would you be the jerk for refusing to take care of your stepdaughter? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk? I let my 17-year-old daughter sneak out. My daughter turns 18 in a couple of months. She came to me and asked if she could have the experience of sneaking out. She told me who she would be with, what she would be doing, and when. I said yes. I didn't tell my husband her stepdad. Well, she didn't put her screen back on the window. When my husband noticed, he came to talk to me about it. I told him that I gave her permission to sneak out. He wants to punish her. I said no because I gave her permission. He is really upset and it looks like this is going to ruin Thanksgiving. She's a good kid, currently has all A's. He's been in her life since she was 5 and we sometimes butt heads about parenting styles. I just wanted to ask, am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk here. They sound incredibly responsible. It was something that they legitimately agreed to and were aware of. If there was like some kind of bug issue or something for not putting the screen back on, maybe, but I think that would be the only possible gripe. I think this guy should not get that hung up on it. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for asking my sister to freak off and telling her that her pregnancy is not my problem? I, 32-year-old male, have a sister, Andrea, 27-year-old female. The issue is that they've always showed her more preference, and although I wasn't treated badly, they hardly paid any attention to me, because she's the golden child, I suppose. She herself treated me with disdain. Before our parents died, they left everything for her instead of myself in the will. I knew that she herself had been behind this. My parents literally told me, Andrea talked to us about how she's more deserving and we can see how that makes sense. Do you have any objection to us giving everything to her? After all, you're older and should be more understanding, etc. I was disappointed, but I just told them I don't care and did not argue. That was a while ago. She got into issue and had to mortgage the house and squandered the wealth over a period of time. As she requires help now, she turned to me and asked me to help her. She's also pregnant right now. I refused and told her that I don't want anything to do with it and that it's not my problem. But she pleaded and cried so much that I felt bad, but I told her she's got to reap what she's sown and that it's just karma getting back to her. In the end, she told me, I know how to tarnish your reputation by using this very pregnancy. In the end, I asked her to freak off and kicked her out of my house. She had shown up there to ask for help. I wonder whether I did anything, well, wrong. As she's my sister after all. Am I the jerk? I think somebody just being your sister doesn't equate you being a bad person for not helping them out. I've never really been a big believer personally in you have to help them out solely because they're family. If somebody's treated you second-rate horrendously for all of your life, you're not obligated to help them out or do anything for them just because they're on tough times and just because you're related. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not paying my nephew's hospital bill? I have 4 kids, Alexis 15, Lucas 12, Ronnie 11, and Allie 8. Alexis has a lot of health issues. We've been in and out of the hospital for months. Something important to know is that Alexis has a PICC line, big take-home IV, and is getting blood thinner injections every day, so we do have needles and vials around the house. She also occasionally gets pain meds through her PICC line. My sister has 2 kids, Andrew 12 and Alyssa 9. She brought them to the house to play with my kids not too long ago. Alexis had a minor procedure a couple of days before they came. I was showing my sister a video of Alexis at the house right after the procedure. She was still very high and it was hilarious. She's fine with me showing family these videos. Andrew came into the kitchen, heard the video and asked what it was. I said that I was just showing his mom a video of Alexis after she got some pain meds. A few hours later, the kids were grabbing a snack and Andrew took the container with needles and vials of the blood thinner out of the pantry. He asked what it is and I said it's Alexis's medicine. My sister and I left to take our dogs for a walk and I wanted to get a snack out of the pantry when we came back. I noticed Alexis's medicine box was moved, so I looked at it and one of the blood thinner vials was a lot more empty than before and a needle/syringe was missing. Sister and I interrogated all of the kids, and we found out Andrew gave himself a high dose of the blood thinner because he thought it was her pain meds and he wanted to get high. My sister rushed Andrew to the hospital and he stayed overnight. Now she's sending me the hospital bill because I was the one that left the medicine where he could get it. I'm refusing to pay because if my 11 and 12-year-old boys and 8-year-old girl know not to touch other people's medicines, Her 12-year-old should be able to see a vial and syringe and not drug himself. She's threatening to sue, and I really don't want to go the legal route with this. Am I the jerk for not paying the hospital bills? I do feel bad for OP, and there was a lack of supervision going on here. But at the same time, have there not been a ton of PSAs on making sure that your medicine is secure, and especially when it comes to people that don't immediately live with you, knowing where it is? Even if you absolutely trust your kids, when it comes to a 12, 11, and 8-year-old, shouldn't it be a little out of reach still? Personally, I don't think OP's the jerk. This 12-year-old should have known better not to go and steal this stuff, especially when it was explained what it was. And there's a legitimately bigger issue where he has the concept of trying to get high. In a perfect world, it probably would have been secure enough to not outright happen, but I don't think OP's the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for skipping my stepdaughter's wedding after years of disrespect? Am I the jerk for refusing to attend my stepdaughter's wedding? Background, my stepdaughter has always been daddy's little princess. Her wedding is approaching, and she's turned into a bridezilla, expecting everyone to cater to her whims. She insisted on a lavish affair, and I'm expected to play the role of the loving stepmom. Here's the kicker, she never accepted me into the family and always treated me like an outsider. So after years of enduring her subtle jabs and snide comments, I've had enough. I've told my husband that I won't be attending the wedding. Why should I pretend to be happy for her when she never showed me any respect? Now, my husband and his entire family are furious with me, claiming that I'm ruining her special day. Am I the jerk for standing up for myself and refusing to play the role of the supportive stepmom after years of being treated like an afterthought? Edit. Wow. I've been reading through the comments and I realize many of you think I'm the jerk. It's given me some more perspective and I appreciate the different viewpoints. I want to provide more details on how my stepdaughter has treated me over the years. Her disrespectful behavior wasn't always overt, but manifested in subtle yet hurtful ways. She consistently excluded me from family discussions and events, making it clear I wasn't considered an integral part of the family. Rare acknowledgements were often accompanied by dismissive comments or condescending tones. On various occasions, she compared me unfavorably to her biological mother, emphasizing that my husband was happier when he was with her. These accumulated instances of disrespect made it challenging to connect and contributed to my decision not to attend her wedding. My husband, who invited me to the wedding, hasn't been the best at managing the dynamic between his daughter and me. He often downplayed her disrespectful behavior, urging me to let it slide for the sake of family harmony. This lack of acknowledgement and support added to the strain on our relationship. The wedding became a breaking point as he expected me to play the supportive stepmother despite the years of disrespect. It's a complex situation, and I'm grappling with how poorly it's been handled on multiple fronts. Even considering the edit, I do think OP was maybe a bit disingenuous when making this post. OP said there were years of constant disrespect but never actually elaborated upon that, and then probably after very little communication and a role in that wedding that is probably very much celebratory, as in you can be an adult and power through it and never even really have to do much at all. OP's gonna try to make a stand about it here and dampen the whole wedding. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my pregnant friend that her kid was going to get bullied for the name she plans on using? One of my friends found out she was pregnant a few months ago, and she's really excited to be a mother. I'm happy for her and think she'd make a good mom, but there's one problem. She wants her baby's name to be unique and special, but the way she's going about it is terrible. What I mean is, the name she plans on using is god-awful. If it's a boy, she's going to name him Danger, spelt D-A-Y-N-G-R. Yes, spelled like that to be unique. And if it's a girl, she's going to name her Tinkerbell. I wish I was joking. I asked her if she was 100% sure and suggested if she was dead set on those names to make them the kid's middle name. When she asked why, I told her flat out that the child would get bullied if she named them that. I know just how crappy kids can be. I got bullied for my name and changed it when I was 19. She got really upset and told me I was being unsupportive and I was a crappy friend. She's been ignoring my texts ever since, and it's been more than a week. I'm starting to feel kind of guilty over what I said. Am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk personally. I think it's a very valid thing to point out as far as your opinion. I mean, if they want to go forward with those names, they have the unlimited right to do so. But I think it's fair to point out, hey, I was bullied for my name, and those names in the eyes of the inevitably cruel kids are probably even worse. I mean, if nobody points out that naming your kid Danger is a bad idea, then do you really have people around you that care for the best for you? Our next story is, am I the jerk saying let him die about an ex-friend who owes me money? I have an ex-friend, male, who in my opinion kind of sucks. He owes me north of $2,000 for getting my car impounded and not telling me, so I had to track it down, among other things. Thus, I've cut him out of my life. I've made it clear that I have no interest in helping him ever again unless he makes good on the money. It's also become clear that M fashions himself as a player, though in my opinion he's a pretty bad version. Other less crappy friends still hang out with him. Not my problem. I don't control their lives. Last night I got a phone call from one of my friends asking to drive an hour each way to pick up M because he was with a married woman and her husband came home. Apparently M was stranded and hiding. They wanted me to come because I have the most unrecognizable cars and the lowest profile, so M could get away cleanly. In response, all I said was, he owes me money, he's an idiot, let him die. Obviously, this has deeply divided people. Personally, I think actions have consequences. He decided to skip out on paying me back, and he decided to shack up with a married woman, so I'm not going to spend $20 plus in gas and 2+ hours of time rescuing someone I don't even particularly like from their own stupid decisions. Others have said that I should help someone in need regardless of the need. So, am I the jerk for throwing him to the wolves? Do the crime, do the time. Although in most places adultery isn't exactly illegal, if you're gonna sign up for that wrestling match, don't be surprised when another wrestler shows up to really rumble. I don't think OP genuinely meant let him die, but I'm kind of on board with them having that little care regardless. They kind of deserve it. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling an army veteran that being one doesn't excuse him acting rudely to me? My girlfriend Lisa, 26-year-old female, and I, 26-year-old male, have been dating for some time now. She invited me to her house to meet her parents yesterday, and I agreed to that. I knew that her dad's an army veteran, and she did tell me that he's rather strict, but I was not expecting exactly how stringent he was. When I arrived, I was caught up in the traffic, so I was around 10 minutes late. He accused me of not being punctual and said, "I've raised my daughters to be strict with timings, and you apparently are not." I told him I was stuck in traffic, but he did not appear to care. Later, when they served me delicacies, I was not closing my mouth while chewing, or that's what he said. I was not chewing with it open in a rude manner, but he said I should not open it even a bit while eating, as that's what's respectful or something. I should have it with my mouth fully closed, which is really hard to do. I was frustrated, but I didn't say anything else. He also asked me whether I exercise daily, and I said no. He asked at what time I wake up, and when I answered, he said, "That's not ideal at all. It's going to harm you and Lisa if she marries you." And then he asked me what I do for a living. When I told him I'm studying and what it was, he said, "But you'd get paid well after university, won't you?" Honestly, I lost my temper at this point and said, "Look, I came here to visit you and not to get lectured and ordered around. You were in the army, but that doesn't mean you can act rudely like that to me." He did not take that well. It got into an argument, and they told me later I was really disgusting for disrespecting someone of that position. Am I the jerk? I mean, maybe this is just what you needed to experience to know that this relationship is not the one. I mean, if she's going to let her father have that much control and kind of vet her partners for her, I mean, I'm not really trying to get into a relationship to try to strive to live up to the standards of the partner's father. Last thing you want to experience is feeling like you're signing up for boot camp getting into a relationship. Our next story is, am I the jerk for ruining Thanksgiving dinner by causing drama because I humiliated my sister? I'm 17-year-old female. My sister Cassie, 22-year-old female, is one of those people who's a bully to everyone and justifies it by saying, "I'm just keeping it real." She clearly knows it's wrong, by the way, because she only does it to family when nobody who could affect her school or professional reputation is watching. It's obvious no one in the family likes Cassie's bad attitude, but usually no one says anything because then Cassie gets overly defensive and turns it into a huge fight with yelling, and my family doesn't want to deal with the drama. My family actually celebrated Thanksgiving last week at my grandparents' house, since we're all going to be in different places on the actual day. During dinner, Cassie looked over my cousin Molly's, 15-year-old female, shoulder and saw she was reading a webcomic. Then Cassie started talking about how the webcomic is overrated, calling Molly basic, and making fun of her for reading it. I was especially irritated because I really like hanging out with Molly, but she and her parents are rarely willing to visit in person because Cassie's always causing issues like this. I told Cassie that Molly's allowed to like what she likes, and there's no reason to be rude when Molly wasn't bothering anyone. Cassie made an excuse like, "Well, I'm just being honest." And I told her that she doesn't have the excuse of just being honest because nobody asked for her opinion in the first place. Cassie got angry and started going off about how you may be too dumb to know, but she has free speech and doesn't need permission to speak, which was literally not the point at all. My mom asked me and Cassie to just drop it, but Cassie kept trying to get the last word in. I got fed up and snapped at Cassie. I told her she bullies everyone and no one says anything because they don't want to put up with the drama. But I'm sick and tired of her being a jerk to everyone, which was all something I've wanted to tell Cassie for a long time. Cue the yelling and waterworks from Cassie. She went on about how no one ever lets me talk. No one listens to her opinion, blah blah blah. She tried using guilt to get people on her side and the whole night was tense after. When we got home later, my mom told me that I humiliated Cassie and that I'm in the wrong. She said she knows Cassie is frustrating, but I know that's just how my sister is and I'm supposed to ignore her. And I gave everyone a headache by provoking her and causing the drama of her crying and yelling at Thanksgiving. It's been a week and Cassie is still in a bad mood. I thought what I did was justified, but it seems like Molly is the only person in my family who thinks I did the right thing. I realize it wasn't the most civil route, but I still feel Cassie brought it on by being a bully in the first place. So I'm asking Reddit, am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk. There's almost like an expectation from the family to just ignore it or enable it. Even if everyone else wants to go with the negative flow, you're not obligated to. It's easy for everybody else to say that you're the jerk when they weren't the ones that had to deal with any of the grief. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing my partner's parents to stay over for a week at Christmas? I work craps and it's my house. I've owned my new house for less than a year. I worked incredibly hard for it. My boyfriend of only 9 months moved in with me because he had nowhere to live at the time, and I allowed it. I pay all mortgage payments, all utility bills, cable, internet, and water. We both buy groceries, although he buys a bit more, and he usually buys my petrol as we often take my car when we're out together. I add him to my health insurance and gym membership because it's slightly more for a couple and turns out a good deal. He's close to his parents and they come to town several times a year to stay with his brother. A few weeks ago, he said they were coming up again for Christmas and want to spend half the time staying with us. His ex-partner had made them feel uncomfortable, so they said they would like to be able to stay with their son now that he has a new partner. I'm a shift worker and have no time off at Christmas. Last time his parents were here, they asked him if he was off for Christmas but didn't ask me, and didn't ask me if it was okay to stay at my house. His parents don't really talk to me. When we meet up with them, they focus on talking to their son and say very little to me. We don't have any relationship. I find his parents disrespectful when they visit. A couple days ago, they dropped in for a cup of tea at 8 p.m. Once here, they announced they were hungry and wanted to eat with us. We don't really do big dinners, we just snack, so there was no food prepared. They then said that they would order pizzas for themselves to eat at our place. It was 8 p.m. and I wasn't keen for them to stay late, so I suggested they go out to McDonald's. His parents discussed my financial situation with my partner behind my back. They are keen I don't use his inheritance or savings towards the house, and wanted to know if I was meeting my financial obligations without touching his money. Finally, when we were out to eat, they dropped my knife on the floor. They put it back on the table for me and then seemed surprised that I wanted a new one. I honestly don't want them in my home to stay over. I will tolerate visits, but not staying here. I'm working shifts over Christmas and I think their behavior shows that they are not considerate people to my needs, as I'm just a girlfriend. Am I the jerk for saying no? I think if you want to have some space for your own and some breathing room during a time where you don't have time off, I think that's very fair, especially when they kind of treat you as a stranger or like give you the barest minimum of interaction just because they're obligated to because you're their son's partner. I don't blame OP. This next story is, am I the jerk for being offended when asked to pay for Thanksgiving when I'm not hosting? I do Thanksgiving with my female 20, husband's male 24, family, and we change who hosts every year. This year, my sister-in-law, female 27, and her wife's, female 28, family offered to host Thanksgiving. My husband and I agree that they are not the best cooks and they are demanding they do the cooking. They always underbake the casseroles and it's too soupy. We offered to help with the cooking and they denied it. Despite knowing that I'll have to politely pretend I like the food, I was okay with going until sister-in-law calls my husband and asks when we're taking her shopping for Thanksgiving so we can pay for the groceries. She wanted about $200 in my food stamps. I'm on food stamps because I'm poor and sister-in-law has a nice job and her wife's family is very wealthy and well off. I told my husband to tell her no. We couldn't even if I wanted to give it because I don't have that much money. I'm pregnant and we have a child. The money runs out quick. Then later, mother-in-law, female 57, called us up and asked us to at least give the rest of our stamps towards the Thanksgiving. I said no way. I will not give my last dollars towards a meal I'm barely going to eat because they're bad cooks and make myself go hungry. They definitely have the means to pay for it themselves. Mother-in-law said I need to stop eating so much and spending the food stamps. FYI, the stamps are in my name only. Then mother-in-law proceeded to complain that I'm basically the reason that she has to give the $200 herself and that I'm putting her through a hard time by not contributing. I am offended that they would act like they're entitled to the food stamps. So I decided I won't bring my child to their Thanksgiving and I'm having my own with just my husband and our child. I used the last $40 on the food stamps that I had and was able to get a turkey and all the sides with coupons. I don't want to go to their Thanksgiving this year, but my husband does. Should I just let bygones be bygones and bring my family to their Thanksgiving and have our own with good food after? I don't think OP's the jerk. If you're in a situation where you're on food stamps, they should not be asking you for money. Honestly, I think it's more than fair if you just don't go and let the husband go and be with their family. I think the family was being straight up ridiculous with this. And bottom line, if she can't afford to host herself, she shouldn't be so insistent on being the host. This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my aunt that only my family are invited to my wedding? Context, I, 30-year-old female, was at my grandmother's house for a family pre-Thanksgiving get-together tonight. My grandma is actually my stepdad's mom, but her, my late grandpa, and my stepdad's sister and nephews have always treated me like family since my mom and stepdad have been together since I was 3. My stepdad's brother, 50s-year-old male, and his wife who we'll call Bonnie, 50s-year-old female, have always been weird with me. When I was little, I called her Aunt Bonnie and she responded, "I'm not your aunt." When they got married, all of the little kids in the family were invited except me. I was the oldest child at that time. They bought me Christmas presents until I was 18, but to this day, still buy presents for my cousins and sister who are all adults, and for some reason, Bonnie won't be my friend on Facebook. I added her years ago and she denied me. After my grandpa died last year, I added her again, thinking we bonded over that week, and she denied me again. She's friends with members of my mom's family, but not with me. I was always a well-behaved kid, so I honestly don't know what her issue is. My mom just says, she's weird. Not gonna lie, it stings a bit, but I try not to let it get to me. Recently, I got engaged to my long-term boyfriend. At dinner tonight, the topic of my wedding came up and how I plan to get married in October. Bonnie mentioned how her family friend is getting married October, date, so to not schedule mine that day. I said, "Oh, that's fine. I'm only having my family at my wedding anyway." She looked really taken aback. My other aunt, stepdad's sister, said, "I would have thought we were your family." And of course, I felt bad because she's always been so kind to me, so I immediately said, "Oh, you are. She just won't even add me on Facebook." My cousin, sensing tension, changed the subject, but it was definitely awkward. And Bonnie, her husband, and kids left soon after. My mom said I was highly inappropriate and that this is going to upset Grandma, who is deaf and didn't hear anything that happened. I said that I wasn't planning on inviting Bonnie and her husband to my wedding, and she was going to find out eventually, so why lie to them? I mean, why would I pay $90 a plate for someone who couldn't care less about me? Mom wants to reach out and apologize, but I'm not really that sorry. So, am I the jerk? I think you get to choose whoever you want to come to your wedding, and somebody that's not even willing to acknowledge you on Facebook, granted they actually use it, and somebody that has constantly told you throughout your life, especially when you were young, "Oh, I'm not your aunt. Oh, I'm not your family." I think it's more than reasonable to say, yeah, I don't expect to see you there. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to pay for my stepdaughter's college? My 48-year-old male, stepdaughter Hannah, 18-year-old female, is going to attend college. I knew her for around 4 years since I married her mother. The issue though is that we've never gotten along well. I have tried, but she always says that she doesn't like me and wants her real dad. When I try to tell her stuff or scold her for behaving out of order, she'd say, "You're not my father, you're just some stranger." My wife Emily asked her to behave properly as well, but she doesn't care to listen, and in the end she stopped telling her as well. I had to pick up Hannah at school once, and when a couple of people who did not know I was her stepdad asked her who I was, she said, "Oh, he's a servant actually," in front of my face. I was extremely mad at that, and it even resulted in a huge argument, although she played it off as a joke. But this was the last straw, and that happened a good few months back. After that, I've always treated her as if she's invisible and barely had any interactions with her unless absolutely necessary. Well, she talked to me presently and said she's got to apply to college and wants me to pay her fees now. I refused and asked her to ask her real dad, who refused to pay for it himself. She began to protest and said I'm affecting her education and that I cannot do that. But I did not relent and said she's not my business now. My wife says refusing to pay is wrong and that I overreacted even though she's not been nice to me. Am I the jerk? I think she's more than fair to put her foot down and say, "You're not my dad, I don't want to have that kind of relationship with you." But when she's disrespectful and pushes you away the whole time, and I'm assuming OP didn't do anything to really warrant that, it's no surprise that years down the road, a person who got pushed away and treated like that, they're not going to feel too interested in forking over loads of cash to support your future. I don't think OP's the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to take care of my stepdaughter? My 28-year-old female, live-in boyfriend, 32-year-old male, has a daughter, 11-year-old female with his ex, 30-year-old female. I call her my stepdaughter even though I'm not legally married to her father, because for all purposes we live together. She lives with her mother during the week and spends the weekends with us. However, her father occasionally has to work on Saturdays, and I take care of her by myself. Last weekend, she got her first period while she was out with me, so I helped her and explained how things worked and so on. I later found out her mother was livid because she called my boyfriend and gave him an earful that I didn't immediately call her because she would pick her daughter up, because as the mother, she was the one that had to be with her daughter during her first period, and I took this away from her. What bothered me the most is that my boyfriend didn't defend me, which he says was because he didn't want to start an argument and make an already difficult relationship with his ex even trickier. So I told him I won't take care of their daughter by myself anymore if I'm to get blamed for whatever decision I make while I'm with her, and if he has to work on a Saturday, then he should get her only on Sunday or change the visitation arrangement. Am I the jerk here? I've actually heard a similar story to this in the past. The bottom line is, I don't think OP's the jerk. They were just taking care of the kid. It's almost kind of weird that the mom wants to try to gatekeep parenting during the first period. I think that's a bit of a weird milestone to outwardly be upset about not having full control over. Our next story is, am I the jerk for doing what my wife told me to, yet she claims I threw her under the bus? Simple story, happened yesterday. We have a 7-month-old baby that is watched by a nanny most days, but on some days my parents come over during the day to help out. Yesterday was a busy work morning, as I essentially had to run out for a few meetings just as they arrived. So I handed off the baby and gave them a quick status update. Wife is upstairs at home sitting on Zoom meetings. I get a text mid-morning from my wife saying that she's hearing the baby fuss excessively for over 20 minutes, and for me to call my parents to suggest that the baby may just need a bit more food. I do just that. I call mom and say that my wife hears the baby fussing and that he's probably hungry. Mom says that dad was already prepping a bottle and that the baby was fussing just for a few minutes since they came back inside. Mom asks why my wife didn't come downstairs to say anything or check up if she was concerned, and I just tell her that she's in a work meeting. I carry on with my meetings and carry on with my day. Nanny switched parents off later on that day per schedule. In the evening, wife asks me what I told my parents. I told her that I conveyed what she told me. Wife says baby is fussing. He's probably hungry, probably a good time to make a bottle. She's in a meeting and can't come down to check up. That made wife very upset. Says I threw her under the bus and made her seem insensitive and inattentive. My response was simply, but I did what you told me to. Needless to say, she thinks I'm a jerk. I don't think OP's the jerk here. I think what all happened was reasonable enough. OP did what they could and did what was asked of them. I mean, how else is OP going to convey that they have that information? It's not like OP's going to just magically know and be able to convey that out of nowhere. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.